Todd, can you hear us now, sir?
Yes, I can. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're loud and clear. Five square. Thanks. Go ahead, Todd.
Oh, so I'm up.
Yeah, we'll
Perfect.
get. Yeah, can you hear us now, sir?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay, so
You're loud and clear. Five square. Thanks. Go ahead, Todd. Reverb.
oh, so I'm up.
Yeah, yeah, can you hear us now, sir?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay, so
You're loud and clear. Five square. Thanks. Go ahead, Todd. Reverb.
oh, I'm up.
Yeah, yeah, can you hear us now, sir?
Yeah, we're good.
The ghost.
Now,
We could make a commercial out of that.
I'm not planning on asking.
Todd, you are still looping on YouTube. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. That loop was strange.
Don't let me tell you how long it's taken me to figure out how to stop that. Okay.
Copy that.
How's the fire department today, Todd? Go ahead, sir, with your report.
Good. Good to talk to you, Mayor and council members. I got a little update from the fire department. I'm sure there's some things that people would love to know about that giant cloud in the sky. We'll get to that in a sec. Number one is hydrant testing is complete. The crews really did a fantastic job, nose to the grindstone, and wrapped it up in 1 week instead of two. So we could take that down off the website that we're doing hydrant testing. It's now completed. Um, to address the wildland situation as of this morning, which has changed, of course, over the afternoon. The McDonald fire is the only staff fire. That's the fire out there in the flats across from Salcha. It was sitting at 30, a little over 30,000 acres this morning. Of course, the conditions today with the wind and the temperature coming up and drying things out really did push it into some black spruce, and that's where you saw the column grow into a pyrocumulus cloud there that is laid down a little bit, but it's still ripping. It's in a limited protection area. There's some cabins on Clear Creek that the smoke jumpers and a couple of hotshot crews were doing prep around to protect those. But other than that, they're going to let that thing go anyway. There's 57 people assigned to it as of this morning. That may go up. They were patrolling the highway this afternoon as of 4:40 from the BLM update. They were patrolling the Richardson Highway, but it hasn't come across the river at all. So as long as it stays out there, I think we're okay. Other than the smoke when the wind changes. Um, a quick word on the Defense Community Infrastructure Program grant. That's completed. I wasn't here when it all got wrapped up, so I just kind of watched the email between Danny and Chad and the Two Bears folks. Fantastic job. Danny did a lot of work for us on that and really kind of streamlined things. So kudos to him for his assistance. That's in. We'll keep our fingers crossed on the result. Possibly this fall. A lot of that's tied to the federal budget, and Danny's well more versed in dealing with that than I am. That's for sure. But it's good to hear that that's done. And then the last item of interest, really, that I'm gonna let's just say Chad kind of clued me in on. Like I said, I was gone last week, but we did respond to a structure fire on Wednesday, on the 12th, with North Star, a large shop fire. There was a person there that was severely burned. The crews did an outstanding job. We take the ambulance with us when we go to North Star structure fires for just this sort of thing. That person was put in the ambulance quickly and taken to the hospital. They were only on scene for about 12 minutes. So that was a really good turnaround time and hopefully a good outcome for that person. I know that they were uh, definitely had some serious burn protocols going on, and Captain McGilvery handled that. Did it really well with actually one of our part-time members that works at Clear Air Force Station as a firefighter is a neighbor that assisted with that. So that was a good thing. There was a power line that burned through when the ambulance got on scene and fell across the ambulance. They were able to get clear of that without any incident and stuff. And then the engine crew work there to put the fire out with North Star and give them some assistance. So we work as a team and we work well with our neighbors. But that's about it for the update from the fire department. I can answer any questions to the best of my ability that you might have.
Any questions for Todd, Chief Chambers? Chief, thank you for coming to us sick like you are tonight. Hope you're going to get better soon. Keep us in touch. And when does Chief Heineken come back again?
He's back on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, very good. And so I would imagine we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed because I know we're going to have some high days and lightning. So I don't know what the duff of the forest is like to get more forest fires, but I'm not sure we're getting enough rain. Are we?
Yeah, there's burn suspensions from here through Toke right now. So anything that's permitted, they're not supposed to be burning. And I think they're dancing on their toes a little bit. And I haven't seen what the relative humidity is and what the duff moisture code is, but when they go to a red flag warning and they do those burn suspensions, it's pretty high.
Yeah. Okay. Any more? That's it. Thank you, Todd.
You bet.
Miss Fogarty, would you go first or next? I mean, Tricia, please. I didn't think first, next.
I got a couple things. The mayor had shared this AML history report and it talks about the yield, gives a nice bar chart. And you can see how things kind of came out of COVID and just skyrocketed. It's very impressive. In fact, today we got our statements from AML, and I don't have my spreadsheet ready for you, but I can report what we earned. At Mount McKinley, last month we earned $4,133. And then the general fund account at AML, in that same month we earned $27,172. In fact, I'd have to look, but I think they're about the deposits are about the same, very similar. So in the fire fleet that we just sent this last year, they earned $2,129. So that's just for 1 month. And then I want to talk to you about the audit. Obviously, we're not presenting the audit tonight. They are working on giving us some draft financials to go over. They gave us entries to make today, and we, by code, need to have the audit completed by the end of June. So I asked her, talked to her about presenting at the next meeting on the 1st, and she's going to be out of town. She's on a vacation, and she can get a partner to do that, but she'd rather present it herself. She's been through day one with us. So if we want to do a special meeting, we can have the audit sent to you before the end of June, or we can do the second meeting in July. It's up to you guys. So if you want to think about that tonight.
Madam Trish, when you say she, who is she?
Her name is Karen, and she's with E.L. Renfield out of Juneau.
Out of Juneau. Did they have a reason they couldn't present to us tonight that you know of?
It's their first time with us, and they're
Yeah.
asking for things, and they really wanted to have everything issued by the end of May, but we didn't make that deadline.
Okay.
So as soon as they ask us for information, we get it as fast as we can to them. And they have quite a few people working on it. There are some hiccups like the missing bond book.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
You might explain that to folks. I can't even believe that.
Yeah.
For the council's edification, the missing. bond.
The clerk has always been the keeper of the record, the contracts. And so you were probably the mayor when the bond was taken out, Mr. Jacobson, and there was a bond book that talks about the rules of the bond. And it's a bound book, and it's very, very big. And we've had it for years. And when we had turnover in the clerk's department, I seen it in a box, and I said, "Oh, you can't throw that away," who was the clerk at the time, and we can't find that book. So it's buried somewhere, or it got thrown away.
Not in our archives anywhere.
Emily and I both went over there and looked through everything that we can.
Their way to reconstruct.
I called the municipal bond bank and I left a message. I have not followed up on it yet, but
Okay.
hopefully we can get that.
That's an integral thing. to
Yeah,
have the
they-
history of that.
Yeah, they contacted KSH because KSH has seen the bond book, but they don't have a copy of it.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think they would have.
No, I don't think they
But-
would need to, right? So excuse me, Jeff, I'm gonna ask something else. So, if we don't meet on July first, which is the first meeting in July, so what are we looking at?
Well, we could do a special meeting
think we
next
should-
week
Yeah,
and
are they prepared to do that?
yeah, she's prepared. I think she's here until the 30th.
Karen's here till the 30th.
Yeah, not here, but
I know, what you mean,
available.
but she would do that, do you think?
Yeah. I told her I would talk to you guys tonight about it.
Okay, well, I'll let the council weigh in on it. What do y'all think about that?
My question is there a deadline that we have to meet with this grant or with our audit being done for any grant purpose submissions?
Yeah, the end of July, but the document will be issued. We can certainly send it on. It just won't be presented to you.
So the audit will be bound and
Mhm.
completed by the grant requirement
Yeah.
deadline?
It'll be completed by the end of June. And I think I talked to Chad and he said the end of July. So
They gave us that because they're starting to realize that, are they not? That municipalities are having a harder and harder.
yeah, they're
struggle.
having a harder time finding people to do their audits.
'Cause
So for Chad's grant, that will be done by June 30th so that he'll be able to put that in with his
Right.
application?
Yeah, it's a SCMT. I don't think it's a grant. It's just, well, I wish they were here to explain it to you, but yeah,
Medicaid reimbursement.
right.
Yes,
That's right.
But they need a financial audit completed.
Right.
like $335,000.
And with our revenue sharing, I have to send that audit in as well.
So that's not going to be impacted if we have the presentation done in later in July.
I don't believe so because we'll have the audit I can send out to them.
I don't see a need to have a special meeting just to, I mean, if you give us copies of the audit, we could be looking at it and be prepared for our second meeting in July.
Yeah, I can send that out as soon as she gives them to me on the 30th
Excuse me,
or
Mr. Mayor.
before.
Yes, I see, Ms. Clack. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so as long as we make sure that we meet the deadline for the Medicare aspect, so can we double check that and make sure that he has what he needs for that?
Yeah, even if she presents the second meeting in July, that's
Right.
going to meet their deadline.
Okay, all right,
Goes till July 31st, according to him.
right. Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Okay, Tricia, that's a question I'll ask, and I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at it, but when we look at the AMLIP, there's two different options on the AMLIP now. One of them is relatively new. It's called Series 2. It would yield 1/4% more interest right now, but it's a little more risky
Right?
because it's not so much in government funds and it's not so much in cash, but it is yielding 5.6% instead of 5.35. I don't know if we want to
Right.
look into that or.
Yeah, they talked about that at AML 2 years ago, that they were gonna
They first came
reveal
out.
the Series 2 and I think it's just now kind of coming out.
And if anyone would look on their fourth page of 8, you will see how, way back when we actually started our relationship in June of 19. And, we were getting 2.34%, and you can see that on the chart.
Mhm.
And then it nosedived during the COVID and it went down so close to zero. But it started back up in May of 22 and now it's where it's at today. It's very high today. But, anyone watching the market, they're saying that there's not going to be any relief from these higher rates. So we're going to actually enjoy high rates according to the Fed for another year and a half. So I don't know if we should relook our efforts of what we put in AMLIP versus what we put in McKinley Bank. That's all I'm
Yeah,
trying
we
to
could
say.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to do
Yeah, in
it.
fact, during the COVID time, we got statements, we earned no interest, but we didn't
right.
lose any money on
We
it.
didn't lose any money. That's the one thing, preservation of capital. You cannot lose money in the Hamlet. Might not make money, but you
Yeah.
can't lose it.
Yeah, there was over a year, it was just a holding place for our money. We didn't earn anything, but
Okay.
I think that was kind of standard across the
Do we
board.
know how much we have in that right now?
I don't have the top of my head. I do have the
Okay.
statement, but it might be close to 5.
5, yeah. So, yeah, we have basically between that and McKinley Bank, what would be equivalent of a year worth of money
Uh-huh.
put aside. We have a little more than $9.5 million,
Right.
which is a budget year's cycle, which, yeah, I remember when we used to have a hard time having half a year. So that's it. Questions? Any more questions? Thank you, Ms. Fogarty. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Danny, I think you can go next.
I appreciate not being directly in the sun. Madam Clerk did a good job of rearranging things. So I'll cover special topics and then the 3 departments. As Todd mentioned, the grant application for the fire station building did get submitted to the DSIP program. And I think I sent out a copy of that packet to the council members, so you can kind of see what we're getting out of TBEC. We also plan to submit the city water main to that same program next year. This year, we're doing a study loan funded through SRF, and basically doing the design. And then next year, hopefully, we'll submit it through the DSIP program. So we'll see how how the fire station building efforts go. We did have a state revolving fund submission for PFAS for about $150,000 to help clean up the fire station. We got contamination around the fire station from PFAS. It's a refundable loan. So, and it actually means what it says. So you actually pay for it and then they will refund you. It's in the comment period right now, but we do think that that's going to go forward. So I'll keep you updated on that. But hopefully later on this year, we'll have the ability to, again, get after the fire station PFAS issue, at least from a planning perspective. And we should find that out in the next couple months. We also expect to hear from the Alaska Land and Water Conservation Fund on our application that we submitted last year for the Highway Park Playground. We submitted an application to update Highway Park Playground. If many of you have been there, the playground equipment is kind of the stuff that all of us grew up with. It's very old. There needs to be maintenance on some of it. It is a nice location. It's a nice park that was, I think, originally done by the Rotary. But if we could receive up to $123,000 for that, but we don't. It's not a completely free grant if we get accepted for that. It is a matching grant, so everything that we spend will have to match all the money that we get. So that'll be a decision for the council later on, but we'll see first if we get the grant, and then we'll go from there. For Public Works, for street lights, all of the current lights, candy cane lights, and then the DOT light project, all of those will be completed this summer. The DOT lighting project for the city core, many of you may have seen that those are on. They should have been turned off today or maybe tomorrow. There's one over near the railroad tracks that needs some maintenance that is not working, but they're working through that. That project should be complete. That is DOT. We did kick in some money because it was a fast project, but we won't have any additional expenditures with the DOT. Again, the candy cane lights, we also have some poles that are malfunctioning. Again, better to know now than later on. We think it's because the poles were not put exactly in the same location as when they were taken out. So they're working through that right now. I don't think the city's going to have to pay anything extra for that. But those are being worked through. And we did find one of the candy cane lights that was replaced with LEDs. It is not working. And then that was a DOT project. To replace the light bulbs themselves. Again, we're working with DOT for that. That'll be warranty work. We're slated to have the parking lot resealed and restriped on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday of this week. And there might be some additional actions on the following Monday. You'll see sort of a new parking pattern that was designed by both the staff and the police department. Chris Ellingsworth was extremely helpful in doing that. He actually put cones around there, and everyone tried parking to see how it would work. So there has been a lot of sort of analysis in that, and hopefully that'll work. We're going to try to either cover up or remove the yellow lines, because right now there's a lot of parking options in our parking lot, and we're trying to decrease those options. And then when we roll around to elections, we'll have a plan. I'll work with the clerk on a parking plan, possibly to move the staff out of the parking lot to give more spaces for citizens who want to come here. For the building department, we're continuing to see home permits and building permits. Certainly Three Bears remains the biggest project right now. I'm in contact every day with our building inspector and at least every other day with our utilities inspector, because we've got structural issues that they're looking at. And we also have utilities issues because they're going to hook into our water system. So we're trying to make sure that both they comply with the city code and the internationally accepted building standards, along with the utility system. They actually tapped into our water line last week. That went very well. They did I think it's called a hot tap into our water line. That went well. Stantec is helping us on that oversight on that side. Charlie Jeanette and NSC Alaska are the engineers that are working on the structural piece. And that seems to be going well. For utilities, we continue to move forward with several utilities construction and policy projects, and we've noticed an uptick in water main and service line breaks. Those of you that have gone around town, have been around town recently, you'll notice there's one in front of North Pole Elementary School. We've also had ones behind the Hotel North Pole, on Fifth Avenue at Crossway and Ford Subdivision. There's another one in Desert Eagle Loop. Some of these are related to our water main. Some of these are related to service lines. And so we're working through those. But again, other examples of why the water utilities, certainly the system needs to be paid attention to. But we are working through those. It's nothing we can't handle. But again, it's sort of a practical example of why that needs our attention. I did want to say that the water main, along with, I think the fire station has actually made it to the next level of review for congressionally directed spending for next year. This year, we did get awarded the utilities, $2.5 million for utilities integration in Brookside Park. But this year, both the fire station and the water main, we submitted those again this year. And they did make it, they're in committee right now. And as Todd mentioned, certainly going through Congress is a long process, but at least last year it did pay off for us. So we'll keep monitor that, and I'll let you know how that goes. I don't have any other comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from the council.
Mr. Church, Councilman Church has a question, I think. I will have some too, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I drove down Fennell over the weekend and would like to know when that section of road is going to be repaired. It is a disaster with cones all over the place, potholes, and then driving up the road behind the middle school in between the old Pizza Hut has speed bumps in it where it looks like they hooked to the city service, and that dirt work was done better or worse than our road system. So there's almost speed bumps, and I don't have any issue with that, but the road condition on that side of town is disastrous. What are the plans to correct that and to put a fix to that? Because it's dangerous.
That's a very good point. And again, you're one of many people that have said those same words to us. We generally do all the paving at the same time. Right now, the Hubbard Construction, who we normally use for it, he's on vacation. We do wait again, and we group those projects for costs. So you'll see that happen, but it's going to be in July before we do that. If there are areas, and I'll talk to the Public Works folks tomorrow. If there are areas that are extremely dangerous, then we can do some immediate fixes on those, and I'll have them go out and look at those. So we will pay attention to those, but normally every summer we group all those projects into one. They'll do paving throughout the city in those areas. And really when you get further into the year, then you get less ground disturbance. You get less of the moving, where I think everyone's seen where ground has gone up and down depending on the time of year. So we will get after it, but I'll talk to them tomorrow about it.
Yes, sir.
One
Please
more
go ahead
question.
and Follow.
While driving around the city of North Pole, I know it's also your responsibility when it comes to code enforcement regarding people and their collection of stuff. Also attached to the Fennell area, we had a citizen come in, Bridget Vaughn and her husband, talking about the place on the corner of Fennell and Parkway, I believe it is. Have you driven by that place to look at the collection of stuff? And directly in front of that house, the dip in the road with the collection, it's just really concerning. And driving around the city of North Pole, there are people who have collections that are out there. And I truly believe that if allowed to continue, will start affecting our tourism to North Pole. It is sort of out of control and out of hand. How do you deal with those citizens who come to you and say, Mr. Wallace, we have a problem. I'd like to, have this cleaned up. How is that being handled with these situations?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you remember, but Chief Dutra actually addressed that particular address, and I've got several pictures of it. And I'd have to go back and research the specifics, but it is an ongoing problem. Again, I have talked to Ms. Vaughn and folks, again, with stuff being thrown in their yard, stuff being out in the yard that should not be there, too many vehicles. For code enforcement, we are complaint based. We don't go out and look at different addresses and do stuff. So when the Vaughns come up and they do a complaint, we talk to the police department and we talk about what should be done about that. We also talk to Fairbanks North Star Borough because they have a code enforcement section too. So based on the police department, the building code and city services, along with Fairbanks North Star Borough, those are the different ways to get it. But we don't move on anything unless we get a complaint from a citizen. So if you have a list of addresses and you'd like to do a formal complaint, we can submit those into the system. Again, there's certain things we can and can't do. I'll give you an example for water leaks. We've had leaks inside houses where we've been told, hey, go on inside and turn off the water and solve the leak. We cannot send city workers into situations to do that. There's certain things where legally we don't want, for example, code enforcement, we don't want citizens to go and knock on doors in situations that they would be at risk. So we really work hand in hand with the police department on that. But if you have a list of addresses, please send those to me. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to make a formal complaint, that's great, because I can use that to go to the borough and the police department to start those processes.
I have a point of information. We actually have a committee, but we have to assign people from the council on that committee to go out and do the enforcement, to say, this is what we see at your property. We run no risk as a proactive council to say, as Church has just said, this does not look good for the city and it impacts the beautification of this city. We need to go back and assign people to that and go out with our cameras, take pictures, do what we have to give you the information on those properties. I had gone a couple of years ago when we had the snow Armageddon and said, okay, you've got 11 cars sitting here. You can't have that. That's over Holiday Road. I've gone to some other little turnarounds here, done the same thing. But usually I would ask, is there any reason this can't be cleaned up in the next 72 hours? Because I give them time to do it. So, and I'm trying to remember on Fifth, the two properties on Fifth. And we had a citizen that came in and he asked to be able to delay till June of last year, which he barely made it, but he did make it. So sometimes citizens will try to be in compliance. But if we're not pointing out to those who are not in compliance, then that's our own fault for allowing that to happen. I don't say it's your fault, Mr. Wallace. I'm saying it's us as a council, and I can have the clerk pull up. I don't know who's assigned to that committee. Probably it's dated. We need to reassign council members who want to be on that.
You had me run this at the beginning of January.
Right. Mhm.
So right now on the code violation committee, it's Mayor Welch, Jeff Jacobson, and Dave Skips.
Excuse me, may I add
Yeah.
another name? Larry was also added to that because I had
What?
to, Larry Larry Church was also
Oh, yeah.
added to that
Yeah.
committee.
Okay.
So that committee has already been done,
That's
because you
good.
also asked me to take care of that.
Yeah,
So we were just waiting to see when this was going to get started.
we should do it now.
Okay,
Now's the
but-
best time ever, because now's the time when people, we say we have 2 seasons, winter, and preparing for winter. We're in preparing for winter. Now's the time for them to get that done.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Larry, you're confirming?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
You forgot Larry?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Nope.
You
Happy
remember
to
me?
be on it. And truthfully, I understand that there are those people who have collections. I don't have any issue with that. But the junk that gets hauled in and left behind is really hurting our city. We do so much in the roundabouts, the light poles, the roads, the flags, so much in our city to make it beautiful. To be followed by that is just devastating. And I couldn't imagine as an outside tourist coming to our town and having to drive by that. Or take my kid to North Pole Elementary and drive past all of the stuff in front of or behind that school and feel like this is where I want to take my kid every day. It's disappointing. And I really feel like we could do better as a city and we can do better as a community.
Yes,
Oh.
Ms. Clark.
With that being said, we just need to be able to have that committee get started at the earliest convenience.
And my question is, the actual enforcement of it. So we have to probably give a written notice if they don't try to conform. It has to be communicated in writing. And so that's where one of the things, I won't name the particular citizen, they were upset because they were told that they had violated by having their car parked out in the right of way. And they got very upset that they were even suggested they would have perhaps a citation. So you can see where this is going. And, that people don't think that they have to do anything in this city. So when I look up and down Fifth, that's just Fifth, but I could go into different parts of the city, say it is deplorable, so. Any other comments on that? Danny?
No other ones.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
I live in that neighborhood that you speak of, and basically as neighbors, we are held under hostage because that person, his therapist talked to me, and he's a very dangerous individual, so I will not make a complaint against his property because I don't want my home to be targeted like his neighbors are already. It was atrocious that for over a month, they parked a car in the driving lane on a dark street, and hundreds of cars had to pass by that car that was in the driving lane. I know the police were over there the same night that the neighbors came in and reported that. I don't know if they just listened to the meeting and then went over there, or if they had another report there, but that is a problem area. And I don't think you need to have more complaints. It's been on the radar. We need to do something about it. And I don't think our code enforcement committee really would be safe to go after that property. And so I think it falls on to the city employees and the police department and the administration for enforcement.
That Crossway in Fennell or Parkway in Fennell?
Crossway.
Crossway, because
Crossway.
early tonight it said Parkway, and I know it's not Parkway.
Crossway and Fennell.
No, yeah, Mayor,
Yeah.
over here, sorry.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, we defer to the police department on that property. We are not sending city employees over there to do anything. Because again, there's been a history of that property. It is dangerous. And for that, that's already a known location. So I think we have to work through the law enforcement side on the city side. Now, for other properties in town, we can do the code enforcement. Like I said, we have a really good working relationship with Fairbanks North Star Borough also, which has a code enforcement section. For us, code enforcement is sort of an additional duty, very, very important, but it is something that we don't have anyone assigned to. If it is, it's me reaching out to folks or going out and taking pictures. And I have taken pictures of that location, provided them to the police department and asked them again, what do we do? Because there are certainly some legal constraints. I think that folks do have a right to have certain things in their yard up to a certain point. But if they get over a certain number of vehicles, then that violates city code. If it gets to be a safety issue, certainly that's an issue. So again, I'll take that and I'll re-engage the police department on that particular location and see where we're at on that.
More questions? Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. What's next, Madam Clerk? Is that you?
Or the police.
Okay, who's here from the police? Oh, Sergeant Dykeman, thank you. Come on. You live off of Blanket Boulevard there. A treat for me. Thank you for coming.
Members of the council, sorry for the chair. Just a couple of things for the evening. The chief of police, he's out for a couple weeks. He's got a vacation, as well as some personal matters he's taking care of. Also for this week, the lieutenant is also out on leave. That's kind of why I'm here today. This week, we are actually starting the security camera installation. The PD boiler room work has also begun. Our newest officer, Jonathan McBroom, he graduates the academy the 27th this month. So we're really excited to have him on board. Our final position for the police department is close to being filled really soon. I think he only has a couple other steps to go through. We've actually had some recent interest in the reserve program. A couple of people have reached out trying to replenish our reserve program that we haven't had in a long time. So we're really excited about that. Also, our summer safety initiatives are progressing very well. We partnered with the Santa Claus House, trying to get them the ice cream tokens, rewarding good behavior to all the kids and stuff like that, trying to build community relations. So I have today. Sir.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please, sir.
Thank you. How is the walkabout through the city of North Pole? I know it was on the plan to do the walkabout. How is that coming along and what kind of progress have we seen?
We're trying to do it. It's a little bit difficult during the time of the day. Some people are out and about and some people are not. So trying to walk in out, meeting with people, we have hit and miss success. It's hit and miss. So, but everybody that we do approach really appreciates the communications and the contacts that we have with them.
And then the North Pole officer that we have out at Chain of Lakes is awesome. And that whole entire program, to have that out there where he is trying to have the heart of a teacher and educate some of these younger kids instead of writing tickets for every thing that he sees. I think that is doing our entire community, not just the city of North Pole, but North Pole as a whole, a huge service. We were all rowdy kids at one time, and it's good to see understanding through that. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Anyone else? Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Very good. Chief Dutra's back in about 11 more days or so. Yeah. Madam Clerk?
Okay, well, I wanted to thank the council for investing in employee education. Maggie just returned from Professional Development 1, which had a focus on the role of the clerk. So she's doing those things in collaboration with her HR requirements. And I'm very happy that Maggie's returned. Also, it is open enrollment. Employees will need to sign up through EASE. We this year have the 4-tier structure. So if you've had changes, if your family doesn't apply to the 2-year structure, you might save money by hopping on EASE and checking out your new benefits. And Maggie, when does open enrollment end? The 23rd is the end of open enrollment. Other than that, are there any questions?
23rd of this month?
Correct. Except I don't think we have you on our health plan. But yes, employees, it's the 23rd of this month.
Any questions for the clerk or for Maggie, for that matter? And yes,
Maggie, what did you find very interesting in your training that you had taken?
Find a microphone.
Beg your pardon, I didn't hear you.
We did a whole day on record retention and the importance of records and how to keep those safe and answer public requests. We did a half a day on ordinances and resolutions. We worked on customer service. We spent 4 hours with the lawyer for Alaska law issues. It was really interesting, and I was nervous about going, but so grateful that I went.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead with your question. Ben.
Maggie, I heard you mention about keeping records safe. So what you're telling me is we need to put a lock on your door, right?
Yes,
Keeping your records safe.
Yes.
Everybody understand that?
yes. My office and the clerk's office need to be locked
Need to be
and
locked
secure.
and secure.
Yes.
So
Okay.
That should be coming from, is that even in collaboration? Even Danny might know that with Long Technologies or not? Are they aware that we need to have these locks put on? Does anyone know?
I'm not sure.
I think it is.
Thank you, Benny.
You're welcome.
Ms.
As he
Black
was-
has a question.
as far as the roof that you mentioned, is there anything that we can do to secure that so nobody could scale over? Because that's our other concern.
Well, again,
Understand? But if somebody was to be able to get in,
Yeah, there's no heat if we close the doors. We can close the doors, but then there's no pin pad. So anybody that has a master key can enter council chambers. There's a whole lot of reasons why this isn't working. But Maggie's office with employee records, those should be behind two locks. So again, if we lock this door, it's the master lock. Copy and code. Your two locks.
I think it does.
Yes.
I'm
Go ahead.
confused. So there's a key lock on Maggie's door. So your office can get locked?
I think it's keyed to the master.
So then it's just a matter of rekeying it so it's not keyed to the master, or we have a separate key in addition to the master, but I don't think it needs a Long Technology swipe card at $10,000 a pop to do that. Same thing with the clerk's office. If we have a keyed access there, I think you can change it so it's restricted.
When it comes to election security, this office cannot hold ballots or registrar or ballot box. This office, the clerk's office, it cannot contain that material.
I think we should entertain perhaps changing offices so the clerk's office is not in there then.
I would like you to consider that the HR office has all birth date and social security material too. So same level of security needs to be executive session material, voting material, personnel data.
Probably need to add on to City Hall, the growing pains about stretched us here. Yeah.
and believe it or not, we are working.
Who's on that group, Mr.
Thank
Wallace?
you. Yes.
Yeah, it's a staff, working, again, it's. Recommendation. Certainly.
I did come here several weeks or even last month to pick up a document from the clerk and she was out. And the master key or whatever, the key to her office was not in City Hall offices proper. No one could find that key. No one could get the documents out of the clerk's office. So I do have concern about tracking that location of a master key that can disappear off of a wall in an office space and no one knows who has it. And then what happens to it afterwards. So I think you need to come up with a better system than hanging it up on a bulletin board. If it's a master key that anyone can just grab, it should be in a secured location where if you do need to get to it, somebody keys into that and gets the master key, and it's just not hanging somewhere out there in the public where it disappeared. And I don't know if it was ever found or if a new key was produced, but that was alarming to me.
PIN security when it comes to ballots and voter information is essential because you can't go looking for a crime on footage after it's already happened. We should be protecting ourselves prior to a crime happening.
I have a question for you, Jeff. How long has this been precinct 175 here, City Hall? It was when I got here in 99, but I don't know how long it's been the precinct.
I think we've always been the precinct for the most part.
Okay, because I know there was a place on Plaque Road and I know there's a place over here at the North Pole Plaza.
And there was one at Santa Seniors too. So
Yeah, Santa
they outlying areas where they don't have appropriate meeting space for voting, they designate them in different locations. But I think as long as we've been a city and had a city hall building, voting has taken place here.
Okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head. The last election that we had here was the May 7th special prop. There was a problem with the people that staffed it. It could not follow the picture direction to get the modem to work. And Madam April Tricky had a fit with me because I knew how to read the thing and was trying to get it started for them. I just was being useful, but she didn't think I should even be here. Well, it's my city hall, so.
Was that to plug it into the copier machine modem?
No, it has wireless. It's
Wireless.
wireless through 4G, 5G LTE, so it was a wireless modem, but it's a matter of not experimenting before the day of the election, so they didn't know how to work it. So I just tried to accommodate them, and it worked, She didn't think I should have anything to do with it.
When I was mayor, I'd have to go and take the machine and plug it into the modem
Mhm.
port behind the copy machine, because
Yeah.
that was where the fax line was located.
That's what I had to do where you're sitting, Madam Clerk, behind you at one point. Okay, I just thought I would ask that. I'm always curious about that. Where are we at now? We're on to borough representative
And we didn't have a borough representative at this last meeting.
because,
I think that actually I suggested maybe we just let it cool down after the last meeting. We can just be North Pole for a minute. And we'll get back to it.
sure, we'll get back to it. I just glad that you made that choice. And I think there's going to be a change up around there. I would at least hope so. Item 10 for projects report. I'm only going to throw something out there. We're having the 4th of July and there's lots of things that lead up to it. So I will say this, that on June the 29th, that's a Saturday, starting right here in the parking lot is the firecracker run. That's a 5K run. So it actually, I'll have to be here to help them in the door and I'll be the red lantern. I can guarantee you that. I might be the first to start, but I'll be the last to finish, but I will finish it. But that's being put on by North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce. So they personally do that outside of the 4th of July. So there's just not so many things that are coming out of this parking lot. Then I've been asked to be the master ceremonies, the MC, the announcer, whatever you want to call it, for the actual 4th of July parade as you go past the review stand on right in front of the Santa Claus or the Santa Senior Center. I keep getting them confused. Santa Senior Center. So I'll be there to do that. Last year, the police motorcade went by so fast that everything was just way too fast. So we'll slow it down somewhat this year. And I believe we're going to have a breakfast. So Benny provided me a list. I may have to get it to you, Benny, the things that they want: sausages, eggs, orange juice. I didn't see pancake flour.
Got enough pancake flour.
They got enough of that. Okay. So I'll get those things, but I may get them on the 2nd of July instead of the 3rd. But you have room to store that?
I'll make it happen.
You're a good man. So I'll get those things to you. That's what I text you back. I'll help that. So I think that's pretty much the best I can remember for that. Now we go into item 11. There's no unfinished business before us. Item 12, new business, the cybersecurity risk assessment. We're discussing it tonight for the state grant. And Danny, you're going to present that to us, please, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The state of Alaska has granted local municipalities the ability to use money. We've actually been awarded money for a cybersecurity risk assessment. Most of you have, whether it's seen in the news or either locally or nationally, that every organization that uses computers continues to be at risk. This is a preventative measure that would feed other efforts to secure our systems, whether it's securing our infrastructure, choosing different vendors, or buying different equipment to make sure that what we do stays within North Pole and does not get used by any other organization. The request here is to allow us to use this grant money. We've already received the grant money, the city has, but allow us to use this grant money on a AML, Association of Alaska Municipal League assessed firm that named Structured Communications, which will do a variety of things. If you look on the memo, it'll do interviews, inventories, risk calculations, and actually in external penetration efforts to see if the way we use our systems are appropriate and correct and secure. The overall risk assessment will be used for further grant applications, again, to help support strengthening our infrastructure. But the first step is to use this state grant money that we've already received. We've already been designated for, sorry. Yeah, so that's that we've already been designated for. We are approved for this money. Sorry, thank you. So again, if you look in the packet, the firm that we have chosen is Structured Communications, and this is based on Alaska Municipal League's review of and doing an RFP for request for proposal to other organizations that do this. They vetted 4. They recommended Structured Communications. Structured Communications has not done any business with the city. It's not tied to anything we're currently doing. And again, in that the scope of services, you can see some of the things that they'll do for the city. Again, I think this is in the best interest in the city to continue to secure our systems. So I'll leave it open to the council for comments.
It's a nice time to ask questions from Director Wallace. Any questions for Dan? Ms. Clack has a question. Go ahead.
My one question came out of our 6:30 meeting conversation. And if I recall correctly, it was AML's recommendation, but they also gave you a list of 3 or 4 others. I wanted to know why you did not go ahead and just reach out to them and see if any of the 3 could be a fit for us as well.
And that's certainly a fair question. I really was able to look at what had been done. I looked at their assessment process. They did a very structured assessment of these. And so I didn't take the time to look at the other 3 because I didn't think that would be worth the city's time to look at those. Structured has an office here in Alaska. They deal with stuff. As I mentioned at the 6:30 meeting, I did a pre-interview with them. They met the criteria that the city's looking for. But the reason why I didn't do that is, again, because we rely on AML, Alaska Municipal League, for many, many types of support for things like this for the city. So that I did not, I did not consider reaching out to those other organizations because, again, they didn't fit that criteria that AML had set for cybersecurity firms.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Church, please go ahead.
During your conversation with this company, was that a video audio, like a Zoom call, or was that just over the phone? And then what questions did you ask them?
It was a Zoom call with them. We asked them about the price. again, for this type of work, this is actually a fairly low price for this type of, this type of work. So again, what we could get for that price, I didn't know if we were getting the, again, the bare bones or the, again, an accurate assessment of our needs. And again, it's geared towards the cities our size. I asked them about what other work they had done in Alaska, and they did say that they had worked with other, or they were starting to work with other cities, again, based on this grant, because a lot of cities have gotten this grant. They're going through the same things we are right now. So again, we really went over their statement of work, and you could see the statement of work enclosed here, what they were proposing to do for the $31,000 that we had been designated for this work. So we reviewed that. And again, I think initially when they came back and they said, hey, this is what we'll do for you. They didn't have penetration testing included in their statement of work. And I asked them about that, and they said, well, we can include that. They would include that, because I did think that was external assessment of our system, and the ability to get in our system, I think, is a very important thing. So.
And then did you reach out to any other municipality that they have worked with to check their references to make sure that they said who they say they are and you weren't just talking to a random salesman? And then as far as their bid, it's just so close to the grant awarded amount.
It's exactly what the grant's awarded, because again, we asked, their initial bid was lower than that, but I told them, hey, we need penetration testing. And they asked how much money we had to spend. I said, this is how much we've got. So it is exactly what the grant is. So you're right. There's no daylight between their bid and what the grant is. But this is a standard grant, that a similar size grant that's been given to most municipalities. So you're right. There is no distance between that and what they bid.
I make a point of information about the external penetration testing. That's a very low amount of money, actually, $1,300, because that's not even, it's about only 5 hours of work. And at $250 an hour that they state for their standard business hour. When we were violated back in 21, it was going to cost us 5 times that amount back in 2021 to have penetration testing. Do we know what we get with that, sir? I mean, that's very important for me to know that.
I'd had to dig back into it. I think there was going to be at least 10 attempts to get into our system, 10 actual efforts in our discussion. Their original bid, again, was $30,000. That was the original bid. And we talked to, I think we're getting sort of a discounted rate for the penetration testing.
Has
So
to be at that rate.
yeah, I think that's lower. We asked them and they included it.
Everyone on board what I'm talking about, penetration testing, what we're talking about?
That's when somebody tries to get in your system.
Yeah, so they test it to see if we have any loopholes, any places that somebody could penetrate and get in there that we weren't aware of. Mr. Williams, you got a question? Go ahead.
Danny, if let's say I had a problem with my computer and it looked like to me somebody tried to get into my computer, would I call these guys or would I go back to the AMP people?
I think I think our current contract is with IT contract is with Ampersand. So, and again, I am not the expert on the IT for the city. I fully believe in this, but if any of us have issues with IT, we go to our IT provider because we don't have anyone on staff.
Any more questions? Somebody want to?
Move to
Move it.
award the bid to Structured Communication Systems.
Motion to award the bid?
If
I made that motion. There's
Yeah.
seriously.
all right, I'll second it.
A motion made by Jacobson to award it, seconded by Williams. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion,
Got
Matt.
one thing.
Go. Okay, we'll say it.
You know, it might, if we had, let's say 4 or 5 penetrations, so our price would go up, right? penetration testing. That's the testing. But let's say somebody turned around was gonna go into our computers. Would that $1,300 be more? Am
I think if we ask for more service, yes, the price will increase, and we could ask for more service. I think what they're offering here, though, is good for an initial security assessment. If they find significant issues, I think some of the recommendation would be, additional training, additional infrastructure changes, policy changes, the standard things that many of you may have been exposed to in dealing with organizations that have to go through changes to secure their cybersecurity. They actually would come up with recommendations possibly that, hey, you need to do more intensive penetration testing. And that, again, I think that would be the next step after this step. So I think it'd be, if we get their assessment, we can look at what they recommend, and actually we can have them come appear before the council and talk about that. The only thing we have to be careful about is if we lay our vulnerabilities out there to the world, those are things we have to think about too. So, and I don't think that answered your question, but that's the feedback.
Mr. Keller, yes.
So we have our IT company, Ampersand. They're the ones that kind of run things. That's who we call if we have computer issues, anything IT. This is a third-party assessment of our security. So if we have any issues, they'll come with recommendations for us to take to Ampersand and take to other companies as well to kind of fill in the holes. My interesting thought is, why was a penetration test not included with this risk assessment? Because cybersecurity that's what it is penetrating into firewalls, penetrating into emails, phone calls, text, whatever. So I just find it kind of interesting how we had to ask for it rather than already being part of a package deal.
So what you're saying is don't charge us for that, because that's what you're supposed to do anyway.
I would have to look into like the actual specifics of what are they going to assess in that big ticket item. I figured the penetrating assessment was built in and not.
I don't think for
packaged out.
$30,000 we could get that, because actually even Respect actually bid on this too, and their bill was higher for penetration testing. So again, after looking at that and looking at what the options were, I think this is a needed add-on. Really, the risk assessment that they initially provided was more policy and looking at how we do business. Again, how often do I change my password? How well educated am I on computer security? Do I understand what phishing is? Do I understand what, again, an online scam is? How many emails do I forward to all of my friends to say, hey, click here and look at this picture? So those types of things, I think that's what it was initially focused on. But you're exactly right. That needs to be part of it. And that's why we asked for it. So, all right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Turk.
Just as a point of clarification, you said Respect did bid on that. How come their bid estimate isn't part of this packet?
We looked at it. Again, we initially talked to them. I didn't include it in this packet because it wasn't a recommendation through AML. Respect has done a lot of excellent work for the city, but that's not their forte. SCADA system assessments is their forte. They're smart on that. They are smart on physical security assessments of the utilities in the city, but it's not. It's an area where they probably would have contracted it out to another firm, a competitor of Structured. So I didn't feel that they provided a competitive option for the city. And I really like the fact that Alaska Municipal League actually went out, did an RP. They looked at stuff, what makes sense for small cities like ours. And so that I felt very comfortable with that. Going to Respect, I felt less comfortable based on what they had. And again, they were higher priced. They were again, I had to go look it up, but it was higher priced than to include penetration testing, higher price than what our grant was.
Okay. So as a point of clarification, you said in what you said this evening that the penetration testing was more with Respect. The entire bid, if I understand you correctly, is higher with Respect than the current bid that we have in front of us.
That's what I remember. And again, I can go back and look at that, but it was to do the penetration testing and some of the other things. It was not going to be within what we had allowed or what we had been designated for the grant. So I thought, again, AML vetting versus what we could get for that.
Say again, Tricia, please.
Yes. Quote, I had a quote from Respect. I did some background checking because again, this was all packaged up into the state SHSP grant initially, and then the state said, no, peel that off because we have this cyber grant that we want you to apply for. So as part of that process, we sort of went back and forth with Respect because they could do the SCADA testing, they could do the physical security. Before, this was all bundled. Cybersecurity, physical security was all one application. After they told us to peel that off for more money, then again, so there was some residual information that we had from Respect also. But yes, the quote is I use the terms bid and quote interchangeably, and that's not correct. It's quote that I got from Respect.
Thank you for your clarification, Trish.
Any more questions? Madam Clerk, would you call the question, please?
Okay, on the Cybersecurity Risk Assessment EMW 2022 CY 00038 SOL State Grant 2022 LSG GP GY 22 Sole Source Council Bid Acceptance. Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
No, I believe more research needs to be done.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Keller, Mayor Welch.
Yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? That's 6-1, so that does pass. Item 13, council comments. Who goes first, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Skips, would you like to start us off tonight?
Yes, sure.
It's getting nice out. Hydrate. Really important, especially after being in the winter, but that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes, we have scheduled an Economic Development Committee meeting this Thursday, and I will be unable to attend that. So I don't know if any of the other council members or the mayor would like to be in charge of that committee meeting, or if we need to cancel it, but I will not be there.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. I'll follow up with the other two council members and see if they'll be able to attend. Mr. Williams?
I'm gonna pass this time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Church?
I would like to first say a little bit of boating safety, please. I love being out on the water, but let's make sure that we have proper safety devices while out on the water and enjoying the summer. It is super sad, especially when children fall out of a boat or are out, hit their head, and they can swim perfectly well. But accidents do happen. So please wear your personal flotation devices while doing that. And then I'd also like to just have some prayers for the burn victim and his family that were involved in that structure fire and shop fire. So with that.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Mr. Keller?
I echo all of these comments, being safe on the roads, on the water, and proper hydration. So let's enjoy the summer.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mrs. Clack?
I'd like to echo the same thing, but I'd like to add to that. A statement that was shown to me earlier this week, and I thought I'd share it with you all. It says, with so many things coming back in style, it can't wait until morals, respect, and integrity comes back a trend again. So as our community and as council members and people that we deal with every day, we need to bring back our morals and our respect and our integrity for each and every person we're with. And I want everybody to have a nice week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clack. Mayor Welch?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I need a little help on some things. I can't go to all these things all the time. I'll let you know that this Friday, out here at H&H Boulevard, which is where Marathon Oil actually gave us the 25 acres. There's going to be right down the street, the IGU is going to do a ribbon cutting ceremony, open house. And I don't know how many of you have been through that whole facility. I have before. So that will be 10 o'clock this Friday. Okay. So please try to, if you can, go to it. And if you can't go there, then go to the major facility in Fairbanks at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and see the $5.25 million storage tank there. Okay. Because you might remember IGU was asking us on the 6th of June, because we don't have the answer yet, but we're working on it. How much natural gas do we need so that they would have enough out of this 155,000 gallon capacity down here? So keep that in mind. There's another thing that just came out late this afternoon, and that's from Senator Sullivan's point man up here, Greg Bringhurst, that there at least a half a dozen 2- and 3-star Marine Corps generals from the Pacific Theater that they would like us to come and have a meet and greet with them on next Thursday, the 20th of is that whose phone is that? Is that mine? The 20th of June. They would like us down there at something like 5:30, 6 o'clock at the wonderful world of the Westmark. And that's an invite directly from the senator. So I hope you can do that. So if you write that down, and I'll have the clerk send that out to you guys as an invite. I'm always trying to get you to go to those things. I will say something too that really is sort of bothers me. When I find in the course of this past week, in almost the course of a day and a half, I've come across 3 citizens that somehow their properties and their security of their properties have been violated, the integrity of it, to the point of one person's up here all the way from Alabama trying to take care of her mother and father's estate. They've been dead for a while now, and people are going in and stealing, just outright stealing. If they're not stealing their trailers, they're going in to their storage facilities and stealing out of the 3 or 4 car garage. They're doing things that it just blows my mind. And people are struggling to keep their head above water and to have someone come behind them. You can't be there all the time. So we have that kind of issue going on. So we have, they asked me, how come our police can't do this? My police can't go to everything all the time. It's just too much. So that's why they need to know who their neighbors are and have their neighbors look when they're gone out of state. It's just as simple as that. I'm sure that if we are aware of it, our police are going to respond to it. But it really is bothersome to me that people are making that kind of inroads. And so I've often said to them, please don't put my police under the bus. They're doing the best they can. It's up to us to be a community and look together at what we can do to secure your property. So as I know more, I'll let you know more, but it's not a very nice sign of what I'm seeing. It's problematic. And with that, Madam Clerk, what's next?
That looks like next we would need an adjournment to go into an executive session regarding procurement performance.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Was that Mr. Keller by Ms. Clack?
No, that was Skips.
Thank you, Skips.
And I would imagine this would be a good time for a bio break. I'm going to have one. So
We'll do a bio break and return in 5 minutes. I'll have everything shut down.
thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. And Maggie, yeah.
Hmm. You had excellent background music for your